How much should you charge for permanent makeup? And how do you know how much to charge for permanent makeup? So you've taken your first class. Congratulations. You got all your tools and your certificate. Your skill set is polished, and you're ready to start taking clients, kind of. But how do you decide what to charge for your services? Well, first things first, let's talk about the basics. So setting your prices is not just some random numbers game. It's about understanding the very foundation of your business. Let me guess. You are not sure what to charge, so you scoped out what people around you are charging, maybe the girl down the street. She's been working for a few years longer than you, so you took $100 or $150 off of her pricing to compensate for your lack of experience. Now you're charging $200, $250 for a new set of brows, and instantly you have made enemies of everyone in town who also does permanent makeup because you just undercut all of their prices, right? The joke is on you because you have no idea what the girl down the street pays in overhead or payroll expenses or anything else. Half the time, it's the blind leading the blind, okay? You don't know if she's profitable or not. I would bet she doesn't know if she's profitable or not. I'm telling you, as a permanent makeup business, beauty business coach, permanent makeup business coach, she don't even know. If you don't know you're taking home a paycheck, what is the point? There are people making hundreds of thousands of dollars in this industry and they go home broke. They don't have a firm grasp on their numbers. And if you don't have a firm grasp on your numbers, you're in trouble. If you're not up for the challenge of figuring out, go get a job at Target. You will work only when you're on the clock. You will get paid every 2 weeks for every moment that you're at work. When you clock out, you don't stress about work ever again until you clock back in. Oh, wait. Oh, you're committed to the freedom of time that comes with setting your own schedule and working for yourself? Okay, then let's get to work. We're going to figure out these numbers and we're going to make your business work. You have to know your costs. You have to consider all of your expenses. Permanent makeup is very expensive. Pigments, needles, insurance, licensure, tools, subscriptions like booking systems or something like Publer, which publishes your posts for you while you're busy working. You have to factor everything in. Every little detail, it adds up. Time is money. You have to understand that the time you invest in each procedure is not just about the actual stuff on your tray. From prep and post-treatment care, all that stuff, your time is precious, but so is your expertise. So we got to include the hours you spent practicing, time away from your family. What do you miss out on being at work? Or practicing for work, or learning new skill sets. The first year or two of my career, I took clients on Saturdays, which meant missing out on time with my kids. Would I miss my baby's first step for $70? No. Could I pay you $60 to skip your son's baseball game? I doubt it. Education and upkeep. So if you're like me, you are always seeking to learn, to grow. You got to factor in the cost of that continuous education every year. Staying on top of trends and techniques, that is important because if you're not learning, you're dying, right? So some insurance companies even actually require continuing education hours every year. My Department of Health, on top of that, requires yearly BBP, CPR, first aid classes, yet another cost. Okay, and you need to be setting aside for taxes at the end of the year too and everything else. So your unique talents, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what makes you unique. Your unique style. It's time to put a value on that. Ask yourself, how confident are you in your craft? What sets you apart from the girl down the street, besides the fact that she's charging $150 more? Have you invested in some kind of specialized certification or something? Remember, you are not just an artist. You're a businesswoman. So you know that you have to differentiate yourself. That deserves a price tag that reflects what you bring to the table. Okay, now this next one is kind of boring, right? Market research, the boring stuff. I get it. Market research sounds about as interesting as watching paint dry, and you might not even know what it is. Bear with me because it's actually a secret weapon. So let's make this tangible, okay? Let's check out what is the going rate for things in your neighborhood. Yes, that does matter. I do care what the girl down the street is charging. But is she charging more or less because she's better or worse than you? Does she have any special tricks that she knows that you don't know? What about online presence? Are they Insta famous? You could charge a little bit more for that. This is not about copying their pricing, but understanding kind of the dance of prices in your local industry. You can't base your price off theirs because their value might be higher than yours or their overhead might be lower. For instance, and let me just say this. For instance, I heard a story, I don't know if it's true, okay? But I heard a story and it made so much sense to me. There's a little girl who started a cookie company in my town during the pandemic. And she was a little girl, like she was in high school. And apparently her cookies were just so damn good. People just couldn't keep their hands off this girl's cookies. So people would literally be like lined up around blocks. And I live in a rural town, so that doesn't happen. People were lined up like around the block to come and get some of these cookies. Every single day she would sell out, sell out, sell out. So finally she needed like an actual commercial space with a commercial kitchen to be selling these cookies, right? And it's not like it cost that much for her to make the cookies. So she's making money hand over fist because she's making them trendy, and then they are trendy so she can charge more. She's selling out every day. So scarcity alone allows her to charge more for them, right? So she gets her first place ever, the ritziest place in town. I know for a fact, one of the most expensive overheads in town. And we were talking about this, some moms and I at a birthday party, and one of them was like, well, yeah, that's because her dad and the guy who owns that complex are friends. And, you know, she's a 17, 18-year-old kid who just opened up a business during the pandemic. They didn't think it was going to be sustainable. So they worked out like a sweetheart deal for her where she would pay $1 a month for the space. And if she needed to get out, she could get out. And that's what they thought was going to happen. What happened instead is for about a year or 2 years, she banked her money, and now she's very wealthy, and I think she's purchasing commercial real estate. I think that's true. But can you imagine if you're paying $4,500 a month in rent to be in that same complex with the same ingredients and everything, and she's paying $1? And by the way, I think her brother does her marketing in his bedroom for free. Yeah, she's saving on hella costs and you're not. Her overhead is this big and yours is the size of a circus tent. So you can't base your prices off somebody else's prices. And by the way, those prices are not sustainable because as her business grows, so will her overhead, because eventually she won't be paying $1 a month in rent, right? If she goes and purchases commercial real estate, which is a great investment long term, it's going to be a bigger piece of the profit every month that she has to pay a mortgage with and property taxes with and insurance and all the rest, right? So trust me, I'm standing in my 4,300 square foot grave essentially, because that's how it's going to work out before I'm done paying for it. But it's a great investment. You have to consider the fact that her skill set is great. Can you match that? If you can't, I wouldn't charge what she's charging because she's going to beat you every time. Then you have to think about the fact that you need to consider your own numbers, which was tip number 1, right? Like knowing your numbers. This story is a really, really good way to explain exactly why it is that your overhead plays a big role. Can you imagine trying to compete with a 17-year-old who's in the best place in town and beating you hand over fist because she's paying $1? Let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about price structure. So some people are upcharging for every single service, like additional pigments or, I'm going to have to use 2 different needle cartridges. Some people package it all together as one big service and then divide the cost between first session and second session. Personally, I do like a first session is a bigger fee, and then second session where in theory, I'm not doing as much like mapping, it's not like starting fresh, right? So I charge a little less for the second session. I am a beauty business coach. So I have heard stories from all over the United States, Canada, the UK, you name it. During COVID, this came to bite people in the butt. So people used to, and some still do, say, okay, it's $600 and that's for your initial appointment and then your 8 to 10 week touch-up. If you're doing 6-week touch-ups, we need to talk. Stop it. Anyway, so like your 10 to 12 week touch-up, whatever. Then they got shut down. Now, I want you to replace shut down because we think that won't happen again, right? Replace that with got in a car accident, found out they were pregnant, you broke your wrist, you had, a long-term illness or something. That person, all those people, came back to different artists who had this pricing structure 6, 8, 10 months later and said, hey, I'm supposed to have a touch-up and I already paid for it, right? Like you told me I was paying for the first session and the second session, so I need a touch-up. Baby, it's been 6, 7, 8 months. It's not a touch-up anymore. Well, they don't care about that. They feel like you're just stealing from them at this point. So if you were out of work for whatever reason, for that length of time, you made a contract with them that said, a verbal contract that said, hey, you're paying this lump sum for these 2 sessions. That you're going to be arguing now with every single client about whether or not this constitutes a touch-up, or if they missed their window and whose fault is that and whatever. So it's better, in my opinion, to separate the costs. And then I would also put in the contract that they sign that they understand touch-ups are only valid between 8 and 12 weeks. And it's, it sucks that you were in a car accident, or that you were really ill, or congratulations, it really sucks that you got pregnant and had to go away for 9 to 12 months, depending on if you're breastfeeding, and then come back. But it's not a touch-up anymore. And so what does that price look like? That should be put into your contract as well. Like what that annual looks like, or what, 6 to 12 months looks like, et cetera, et cetera. So then I want you to consider different levels of expertise. So I'm an educator. I'm a licensed educator. I literally own a trade school. I own the Microblading Institute. And not only do I have a trade school in the state of Louisiana, but I have franchised that curriculum. So my curriculum, with my face on the video, teaching people, teaches in Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, Illinois. But so a few places, right? That makes me a little bit more like, I can charge a little bit more than somebody down the street who's taken 1 class, right? So your level of expertise can also generate whether or not you can charge a little bit more. So as you learn more, as you invest more into your career, as you have more accolades, you can charge a little bit more. I want you to think of your prices as your own little reward system. Every time you pour into your business, every time you have a win in your business, then you can upcharge a little bit. I also don't want you to forget that you need to actually set policies around things like I was talking about, like what constitutes a touch-up? What is an annual color boost? When does that happen? What's included? And what about other people's work? Will you work over other people's work? What about corrections? You need to have all of that specific language set up, and then you have to actually enforce your policies. Now listen, let's get a little bit real about your audience, the people who are receiving your messaging and who are interested. Who are they and what can they actually handle in the wallet? I want you to consider what's the average income of your potential client. Are you catering towards a crowd with like champagne taste or a beer budget? By the way, that includes the music that you use and all the stuff that you use to market. What about your local like markets? Adapting your pricing for specific economic realities in your local market. If you need help figuring some of this out, go to my PMU marketing playlist. Go to the ideal client, and underneath it, there's actually a worksheet you can download, and that will help you figure out exactly who it is you're talking to and like what their budget is and all that kind of stuff. So pricing strategies, but make it for the girls. So there are things that I want to talk to you about, and I'm going to take this as slowly as I can because I didn't study marketing, right? Cost plus pricing. This is your profit margin plus a little bit. That's how you get a paycheck. Competitive pricing. Stay in tune with your market rhythm. What's the average rate around town? Try to force your numbers to fit within this. Maybe you'll make a profit. Value-based pricing. I want you to think of this as like letting your skills, the value of your service, determine your pricing. So if you're offering a unicorn level service, let the world know. If you suck, charge a little less. Penetration pricing. Okay, I want you to be very careful with penetration pricing. Lower prices initially to steal some of the market share, and then you raise them once all the other artists in town hate you. Get ready to watch someone do this to you within a year. If you do this, this will happen in your town. This is the example you're setting. Someone else is going to do that to you within a year. Bundle pricing, okay? So mixing and matching your services into little bundles. Hey, you get a little discount if you put them all in a package. Why spend $400 on a set of brows today when you could spend $750 on brows and lips? Get your big day all at once. So choose wisely. I want you to pick something that really fits for you and your business that makes sense to you. And then I want you to communicate. You've set your prices. Now let's talk about communication skills. Use your Instagram, your TikTok, your YouTube. I want you to show off your skill set with before and after photos and videos and behind the scenes content and all of that. Go and check out my what to post video for ideas on that. Client testimonials. Nothing is more effective than seeing somebody you know on Instagram vouching for a company in your town. Hey, I went to this place and I really liked it. Educational content. I want you to set yourself up as like an authority figure and begin building trust with potential clients. Before you ever say hello and shake their hand, I want them to know who you are and know that you're competent. The more you communicate your skill set, the more your clients will connect with you. Transparency, authenticity, a little personality goes a long way to winning hearts and building relationships. Business is about relationships. Success is ever evolving. I know I keep saying that, but truly, periodically, I want you to reassess your pricing models, consider your current environment like inflation, adjusting for changes for cost in price of service. So don't take a pay cut just because some old man on Capitol Hill raised interest rates to cover a debt that you didn't vote for anyway. Skill upgrades. Every time that you pour money into your craft, you earned a raise. Give yourself a raise. Market trends. Keep an eye on the industry. Are unicorns trending yet? Because I have a unicorn artistry. Don't delete me. And then I want you to adjust accordingly. So just stay adaptable. Ensure that your pricing remains relevant so that you can stay in demand. So if the cost of things is going up and down, the cost of goods, then you need to adjust your pricing. Don't take pay cuts for that. If your skill set has truly skyrocketed from the last time that you've touched your pricing model, change it. If the local economy is down and people don't have any money, run a fallback special. I don't know. This means that your numbers really have to work for you and for your clients. That's what I'm telling you. Charge what you're worth, communicate your value, and then tweak your pricing so that you can sustain your success, right? Don't worry about it. You've got this. Run this video back if you need to. I was a little bit sporadic in it. Meet me in my next video, and we're going to discuss where we're supposed to get these paying clients from anyway. I'll talk to you over there. Bye.